What's going on, everyone? So let's break down D'Angelo Russell. Now, right off the bat, it is more likely than not, in my opinion, that he ends up getting traded at some point. So I'm curious to see if he makes an impact the entirety of the season. Also, there is an argument that you just kind of leave him on the roster and kind of let his money fall off, and then LeBron James kind of restructure his contract. Maybe you can go and sign a marquee free agent in the offseason, but that is for another day. We'll see how this develops, see how this goes, but it is very possible that D'Angelo Russell ends up not being on the roster by the trade deadline this season. So take this as more likely half of the season, but potentially the full length of the season. So obviously, D'Angelo Russell is coming off of an incredible season. Playoffs, I know he was a bit of a disappointment. However, there is some form of optimism in there, right? Because you look at the first playoff run, which he wasn't bad at. Like, he saved us in the Grizzlies series. I understand a lot of people look at him in that Denver series, but they forget that, what was it, Game 5 of the Grizzlies series? And then, was it Game 3, I think it was, of that Warriors series? Like he was good in the first two rounds. He just got his butt kicked against the Denver Nuggets, right? And then in the second go-around, he actually was better, right? So you're seeing progress from D'Angelo Russell, which is a good sign. Again, do you really want to take the risk that, like, okay, well, now he's going to do that? Maybe if the Lakers just don't play Denver in the playoffs, right? Maybe D'Lo will be great. We'll see. Time will tell. But at least you're seeing progress rather than like he was absolute trash and unplayable in the first game and then followed that up with the same thing again. He was at least good in like 3 out of the 5 games or 2.5 out of the 5 games. But through the regular season, it's going to be hard to see him replicate what he did last year. I mean, he had a historically great season, right? I mean, he set Laker records, all of it. He is excellent playing off ball as a high volume shooter. But he also is best, and the Lakers are actually at their best when D'Lo is allowed to play point guard. The best play in literally all of basketball was the D'Lo Anthony Davis pick and roll. Right? D'Angelo Russell is a playmaker. Good things happen when D'Angelo Russell is allowed to be the playmaker. And you saw that. When LeBron missed games, the Lakers were still good. They were still winning games, which historically speaking, when LeBron misses games, the teams are terrible. Right? The Lakers only won 1 game the entire season when D'Lo missed. They lost all the other games that D'Lo missed. And the one game that they won was when Spencer Dinwiddie got to play the D'Lo role, and he's really the only guy on the team that can play the D'Lo role, and played it perfectly that game, and the Lakers won. So it shows the value of D'Angelo Russell. It shows what D'Lo is able to do. Defensively, obviously, he's a problem. I don't really see him fixing it. He was serviceable last season, right? Austin Reeves was the one that was getting busted up every single game, but he was serviceable at times. Can he just consistently be serviceable? He had some great defensive games. Like, great. I'm not talking about just good. I'm talking about great defensive games. He had some great defensive stops at the end of games. He had some great defensive moments and sequences. But he doesn't consistently put those defensive consistencies to action. That's a problem. That's where he becomes a liability. And then you slot in Austin Reeves, and it's just like, ugh, right? Where if those two guys can be just serviceable defensive. I'm not talking about elite. I'm not talking about be great. I'm talking about just be serviceable on the defensive side. That could go such a long way for the Lakers. But D'Angelo Russell, again, I hope that JJ Redick doesn't fall into the trap that Darvin Ham fell into, which is I'm going to rely heavily on LeBron, and LeBron's going to hold the ball for 20 seconds and then kick it out and do whatever, right? I'm not saying you always have to have the ball in D'Lo's hands and you always have to have D'Lo being the playmaker. No. I mean, even most of JJ Redick's actions and sets probably won't even require a singular ball handler. Right? I don't believe JJ Redick's going to run his offense where just the whole game D'Lo is just wheeling and dealing. And when it's not D'Lo, it's LeBron just wheeling and dealing and everything's just flowing through them. No, the idea is you have that initiate the offense, right? Makes that first pass, and then everything just starts flowing, right? But it flows through D'Lo, LeBron, Anthony Davis out of the post at times, Austin Reeves, like these guys that can keep the swing pass, keep the ball moving, right? Find the cutters, right? It's going to be a collective effort. You're going to see lots of screen action, see lots of motion, right? But D'Lo thrives in that, right? Because he's a guy that can read and scans the floor very well. He is a true playmaker. Talk all the time about a guy that can make plays and a playmaker, right? Austin Reeves, he's a guy that can make plays. He's a guy that can find the occasional cutter. He's a guy that can, run the pick and roll. Again, another great basketball play last season was actually the Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis pick and roll, right? Because he can run the basics. He can be the swing man and keep the swing pass, right? He can kind of create for himself and then kick out to the open man. But he's not D'Lo in the sense of D'Lo is constantly surveying the floor. He constantly has his head on a swivel. Austin Reeves misses stuff all the time, right? Cutters and open men and all that. D'Lo's out there and he's creating stuff. He's putting guys in position. He's orchestrating and running an offense. I'd like to see D'Lo get the opportunities to be the point guard. Let D'Lo play point guard and good things should happen. I mean, the guy historically has a 3 to 1 assist to turnover ratio. That's really good. It's the guy that for his career averaged 6 assists a game. And with all this offensive talent and running in a motion style offense, D'Lo is a guy that could probably go get you 8 to 10 assists on average a game, right? I mean, even in like last season, he averaged 18 points and 6 assists. Say all assists were 2-pointers, which not the case. That's 30 points of production every game, or on average, right? That's really good. He's basically accounting for 30 points of the Lakers. Lakers averaged, I think it was 118 last season. So like a third of the point or a quarter of the points last year for the Lakers were all accounted for through D'Lo. Whether it was him actually scoring or him making assists. And then there was the Steph Curry, right? Like, we want Steph Curry, but Steph Curry, like D'Lo is a version of that or whatever. And like people were like outraged, like, like. Obviously D'Lo isn't Steph. Steph is, there's never been a player in history like Steph. But D'Lo is one of those guys that when he gets hot, there's not very many in the game, if any, that can keep up when he is hot. I mean, Steph, again, when Steph is hot, next level. But D'Lo's a guy that can hit 9 threes in a game. We've seen him do it. We've seen him go 0 of 4 from 3 and then finish the game going 6 of 10. Right? And just rattling them up. Boom, 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 boom. We've seen his ability to knock down the mid-range. We've seen him completely just take over a game. Right? Like, D'Lo is a guy that is very capable of impacting the game in multiple ways. Right? You see a lot of guys on this roster, especially, where when they can't score, they become unplayable. They're redundant. Right? Like, at least D'Lo still can get into his bag playmaking. Problem is that Darvin Ham never really allowed him to be truly a playmaker. And then D'Lo's shot isn't falling, so he's unplayable at that point. If you remove the two things that D'Lo is best at, playmaking, scoring the basketball. If he can't score this game because he's struggling to shoot the basketball, and you take away his playmaking, he has nothing left. That's it. Take him out the game. You might as well just bench him. But Darvin Ham will keep playing with him and then get upset and be like, oh, my guy can't, just disappears 10 games. Like, but you're not putting him in position to succeed, right? Look, it's not an excuse for D'Lo. D'Lo's been terrible in the playoffs, right? Those Denver series have not been his best work. But Darvin Ham also didn't do him any favors. Darvin Ham also didn't put him in any act. Like, if I was the head coach, look, I'm just the guy, right? I want to make that clear. I'm not some expert. I'm not some great tactician or anything like that. But if I was Darvin Ham and D'Angelo Russell was struggling the way he was struggling and the ball's just not going through the hoop, right? You have two options. Either A, you design something so he can see the ball go through the hoop because scorers just need to see that one, right? Shooters just need to see that one. So either A, I'm designing a play to get him easier baskets, or B, you're benching him, right? You can't have him just floating out there for no reason. So if it was me, I would run some actions where he is the roll man, he is the cutter, to just get him an easy lob or layup or something so he can just start seeing the ball go in, right? Him giving you 6 points is better than him giving you 0, right? Like, and those Denver games were so tight, D'Lo gives you 6 points, you probably win those games, right? Like, but Darvin Ham never put him in position, right? His shot isn't falling. You need to get him going. If you don't get him going, you're not winning this series. So what do? You either bench him and hope somebody else steps up, or you design sets for him to get easier baskets. And look, if he's not cooking and he's not contributing offensively, teams aren't worried about him. Teams could care less. Let him shoot. So it makes it easier to do that. Right, so my hope is that JJ Redick recognizes and sees some of these things and sees the benefit of D'Lo. Now, JJ Redick hasn't really talked much about D'Lo. Part of that is probably get traded. 2, you already know what you're going to get for D'Lo in the regular season, right? You're going to get a bucket getter. You're going to get a playmaker, right? There's not really a mystery with D'Lo until you get to the playoffs, right? But regular season, you know what you're getting. You're going to get 18 and 8 from D'Lo, maybe gives you a little bit of an uptick, right? Maybe under JJ Redick, slotting him into the right spots, maybe give you like 20 and 8, right? Or 22 and 8, something like that, right? It's a possibility. So there is that, but to me, D'Lo's strengths are very simple. You allow him to be the playmaker. JJ Redick has talked heavily about LeBron James playing more off ball and that he wants LeBron to play off ball. Great. LeBron should be playing more off ball at times. Now, look, I'm not saying you don't ever put the ball in LeBron's hands and let him go to work, because sometimes that's your best offense, right? Guys aren't hitting, things are just kind of chaotic. Sometimes you need to just, hey, give it to LeBron and let him settle everything down. Let him calm things, right? Let him go make a play. But 99% of the time, right, like, run within the offense. Again, I'm not saying you have D'Lo dominate the basketball, but what's wrong with a heavy dose of pick and roll with Anthony Davis? There were numerous games, like literally, like at least a handful that come to mind, right? Where D'Lo and Anthony Davis would be running the pick and roll, and they would score like 4 straight baskets running the pick and roll, and then Darvin Ham would just stop running the pick and roll. It's like, what are you doing? Right? Like, oh, well, they're going to figure it out. Like, okay, let them figure it out. Right? Like, what if they don't? You just ran 4 straight plays, got 8 straight points, you just went on an 8-0 run, and you're going to stop doing what's working? Do it 20 times. What happens if it happens 30 times? What happens if Anthony Davis scores 100, breaks Wilt's record because they can't stop the pick and roll? And as soon as they stop the pick and roll, you make the adjustment. You don't bail out the defense. You don't, hey, man, they can't figure it out, so let's just stop it, right? That's not fair to them, right? Like, it's supposed to be a game, right? It's supposed to be fair. No, knock that off, right? I'm hoping that JJ Redick recognizes that stuff. If that D'Lo, Anthony Davis pick and roll, you run that, bucket, do it again. Bucket, do it again. And if the 7th time they figure it out, 1, you just scored 14 points. 2, if they figured it out, well, now you go to the next thing. Now you go to the next action. Now you go to the next thing, right? Like, make the defense make you adjust. Don't adjust and help the defense, right? That's illogical, right? So I'm hoping with better coaching, D'Lo will be better maximized, because we know he's an excellent scorer. We know when he's on, dude's a bucket getter. But can JJ make things easier? Can JJ simplify things for D'Angelo Russell? If he can, I think D'Lo could be a 22 to 23 point a game guy, maybe even a little more. But real, I think, 20 to 22 is probably fair, which isn't crazy. I think he averaged 18 last season. I think he can't be 4 more points a game if slotted better in position, right? Like, I think that could be the case. But I'm excited for D'Lo this season. We'll see kind of what progress he's made. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? You excited for D'Angelo Russell this upcoming season? And you're kind of like, yeah, get rid of him. Again, how you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.